April 4th, 2024, 6:47 a.m. Liverpool, UK. Callum felt it before he saw it. A tiny raised bump under the skin of his left forearm. Just below the elbow. No pain. No redness. Not even a bruise. Just there. It hadn't been there the night before. Of that he was certain. He poked it gently. It gave slightly, like rubber under tension. His skin moved with it, but something solid sat beneath. Maybe an ingrown hair, he muttered. Or a cyst. Or stress. Or nothing. By 10 a.m. it itched. He sat in his office cubicle, obsessively rubbing it under his sleeve. The more he scratched, the more it seemed to shift ever so slightly. He ducked into the men's room. Rolled up his sleeve. The lump had moved. No longer directly under the elbow, but closer to the crease of his arm. It had slid. Callum stared at it in the mirror, fingers trembling. Then, in one swift motion, he pulled out his car keys and pressed the edge against the bump. The skin broke easily. He expected pus. Blood. Something normal. But instead a click. Metal. The object. He pressed the edges of the wound wider. Blood dripped freely now. He didn't care. Something small glinted beneath the torn dermis. He braced himself, reached in with his fingers, and pulled. Out came a coin. Not new. Not dirty. Perfectly clean. It was a 5-pence piece. Shiny. Dry. Still warm. Medical visit. The nurse didn't believe him. Until he showed her the footage on his phone, a shaky clip of him removing the coin. Her expression changed. And you're sure it wasn't embedded in the skin before? I don't sleepwalk into slot machines if that's what you're asking. She didn't laugh. The doctor ordered a scan of his arm. No further abnormalities found. No infection. No trackable scar tissue. Callum asked. Could I have absorbed it? Into your arm? The doctor said nothing more. He was discharged with antibiotics and a psych referral he didn't request. April 6th, the second gift. 2 days later, it happened again. Different arm. Just above the wrist. He woke with the same lump. Same size. Same feel. This time, no hesitation. He cut. Inside, a tooth. Not his. Too small. Too sharp. Still had a bit of dried root clinging to it. He dropped it in a plastic container, sealed it, and labeled it. Gift number 2 tooth. The coin had gone missing from his desk drawer the day before. Paranoia sets in. He stopped sleeping properly. Set up cameras in his bedroom. Reviewed footage daily. Nothing. No visitors. No movement. No sleepwalking. Just hours of tossing, turning, and muttering. The muttering part was new. He didn't remember dreaming. But every night, his mouth moved. He slowed one clip down. Callum's voice whispered. More space. More room. I'm ready for another. He sees a pattern. April 9th, a sewing needle found behind his knee. April 10th, a plastic doll's arm too small to have passed through any incision. Each item came from somewhere, but nowhere Callum could trace. He compiled a list on his wall. Gift number 1, 5p coin. Gift number 2, tooth. Gift number 3, sewing needle. Gift number 4, doll's arm. He stared at them each night, waiting for some kind of logic to form. But the only thing he felt was hollow. And itching. Always itching. April 11th, the deep one. This time the lump wasn't small. It pressed out just below his ribcage, visible even through his shirt. It moved when he breathed. He tried the knife, but the moment he pressed it to his skin, he heard something. From inside him. A knock. Not imagined. Not metaphorical. Knock. Knock. Like a request. He staggered back from the mirror, panting. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone in his body. The email. That night, he received an anonymous message. No subject. One sentence. Stop removing the gifts. They're not for you. He replied. Then who are they for? No response. But his camera recorded him whispering again that night. Not mine. Not yet. April 12th at work. He passed out in the break room. Collapsed mid-conversation. Coworkers said his lips were moving before he fell, repeating. They're still waiting. I'm still hollow. He woke in hospital. Chest x-rays showed no foreign objects. But when he reached under the gown, he felt another lump. And this one pulsed. Closing scene, April 12th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Back home, camera rolling. Callum stands in front of the mirror. Shirtless. 5 visible lumps now. Across his torso. His arms. One in the side of his neck. He whispers. They're getting closer to the surface. Maybe next time they won't send things. Maybe next time they'll come out themselves. He smiles. And under his skin, something smiles back. Callum's body isn't being invaded, it's being used. The gifts are becoming messages. He begins to understand the pattern isn't random, it's architectural. His body is a container and it's not full yet. April 13th, 2024, 5:32 a.m. Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese woke up already scratching. Not just one place this time, both shoulders, his thigh, the side of his neck. Each area throbbed. Not pain. Pressure. He stumbled to the bathroom, flicked on the light. For new lumps. All perfectly shaped. Smooth. Subcutaneous. Aligned like someone had planned them. He pressed his fingers into the one near his collarbone. It twitched. He doesn't cut this time. Callum stares at the scalpel on the sink. The temptation is there. Familiar now. Ritualistic. But something deep inside his chest whispers. Not yet. Not yours. Wait. He lowers the blade. For the first time since the first gift appeared, he listens. The note. Folded and slipped into the slats of his floor heater. He never saw it arrive. No envelope. Just heavy, thick paper. Handwritten in perfect cursive. You are not the box. You are the lid. Do not open. Callum reads it again and again, hoping it will make more sense. It doesn't. But it feels true. At work, something changes. People avoid him. His desk chair is gone. Replaced. His nameplate? Removed. He asks his supervisor, "Did someone switch my stuff?" The man just stares. Then says, "You've always worked remotely. I've been here for months." The man blinks. "We don't have a Callum on record. The security footage." He breaks protocol and pulls up building cameras. Day by day, playback shows his cubicle empty. No one entering. No one leaving. But in the audio feed, the faint sound of breathing. Whispering. Something like teeth clicking. The shrinking apartment. He comes home to find the kitchen light bulbs removed. His fridge unplugged. His bed made, but differently. And a new bag in the hallway. Inside the bag, another object from under his skin. A button. Pale blue. Cracked. No note this time. Just a label stitched onto the bags inside. Held by subject 017. Delivered by Callum R. He's not just the receiver. That night, he finds a new scar behind his ear. One he didn't make. The skin around it is scabbed in a deliberate shape like a seal. Underneath, he feels another object. But this time smaller. Still, he doesn't remove it. He waits. Because somehow he understands now. They're using him to store the gifts. And then to deliver them. The names on the wall. His sleepwalking has worsened. He films himself. At 3:14 a.m. he stands. Walks to the wall. Begins writing. Names. Hundreds of them. In rows, columns, curves wrapping around the entire living room. He doesn't recognize any. Except one. Callum R. Carrier. And beneath it. Subject 18, transmission pending. The phone call. His landline rings. He doesn't have a landline. But it rings anyway. He answers. A woman's voice. Echoing. "I got the tooth. Thank you." "What?" "Don't worry. I'm keeping it safe. Just like you kept mine." Click. The line goes dead. Another gift surfaces. April 13th, 9:14 p.m. He feels movement behind his ribcage. Not just a twitch. A sliding. A pressure shift. He looks down. A small, pointed lump pushes against the skin directly over his heart. He knows what it means. "They're not just putting things in me," he whispers. "They're using my body to move them." Bag number 6 appears. No object this time. Just folded gauze. Inside it, a note. Typed. Plain font. "You held it long enough. Time to pass it on. Check the vent." He checks the vent. Unscrews the cover in the living room. Finds a package. Wrapped in gauze. Stitched shut with red thread. He opens it. Inside, a jawbone. Human. Still soft at the hinges. No blood. Just smooth. Cold. A sticker on the underside. Internal number 004, delivered by subject 18. Closing scene, April 13th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum sits cross-legged in the living room. Shirtless. 9 visible lumps now. He breathes in. And whispers. "They're learning to trust me. They're letting me carry more." As he speaks, his chest moves, but not with breath. Something under the skin shifts. And settles. Callum understands now he's not the destination. He's the vessel. Objects, organs, fragments of others pass through his body like mail. But what happens when the delivery doesn't end? What happens when something decides to stay? April 14th, 2024, 6:06 a.m. Liverpool, UK. The term was written on his mirror in grease pencil. Carrier 0018. Callum hadn't written it. He'd been sleeping, or more accurately, not sleeping. Instead, he sat in a chair all night, watching his own body breathe. Not in, but around itself. Like something was inhaling from the inside out. He wiped the mirror clean, but the outline of the words remained faint, oily. Permanent. His skin is changing. The lumps aren't red. They're not infected. But they don't look human anymore either. Some glow faintly in the dark. One pulses to a rhythm he checked against his own heart rate. It's off by 1 beat. Another is cold. Another buzzes slightly when he holds his phone near it. He cuts none of them. He's afraid they'll miss their route. The package outside. Left on his windowsill at dawn. Wrapped in thick butcher paper. Tied with string. He opens it slowly. Inside, a stack of handwritten notes. Fragile. Ancient-looking. Written in multiple languages. Some he doesn't recognize. One note in English. Receipts. Signed in blood. Carry through number 18. He flips to the last page. It lists 3 names, 2 crossed out. The third? Callum Reese, active. At the pharmacy. He picks up medical tape, gloves, and antiseptic. The pharmacist doesn't ask questions. But as he turns to leave, she says, "My brother carried too." He started humming when the objects got lonely. "Did they give you the humming yet?" He doesn't answer. But that night, he hears music in his ears. No melody, just bone-deep resonance. Like a tuning fork struck against the skull. The map. Underneath his doormat, he finds a diagram. A silhouette of the human body drawn in ink. Dozens of tiny dots marked in red across the figure. Next to each, a note. Coin, safe. Glass shard, misdelivered. Tooth acknowledged. Instrument in queue. 1 dot near the base of the spine is circled. Currently in transit, do not disturb. He touches that spot on his back. It twitches. The delivery job. Callum walks to his building's basement. He's never been there before. At the far end of the boiler room is a door with no handle. Just a mail slot. Inside the slot, heat. Dry air. The smell of plastic and blood. A sign above it. Clearance drop 001, 050 only. He kneels. Removes his shirt. One of the larger lumps near his rib shifts under the skin and begins to move. He feels it rise, travel under the surface, reach his shoulder, then disappear. Moments later, a metallic clink echoes behind the door. Delivery complete. The message left for him. Scrawled on the inside of his jacket. "We'll load more tonight. You're good at this." April 14th, 10:44 p.m. A knock on his window. He lives on the 2nd floor. He peers out. No one's there, but taped to the glass. A small envelope. Inside. A feather, black, oily, slightly curved. It smells like electricity. Underneath it, typed in red. Sent to 0018A. Store and shoulder. He doesn't resist when the lump begins forming 20 minutes later. He stops speaking to friends. Not that they call anymore. His phone has stopped ringing. Social apps log him out. His name disappears from saved contacts in others' phones. When he logs into Gmail, he sees this error. This account does not exist. He checks the mirror. For a moment, he doesn't see himself. He sees someone wearing his skin but not carrying the same things. They look unfinished. Then it's gone. The transfer ritual. At exactly 3:14 a.m., he feels his body tense. He opens the window. Windless night. Still. But his arms raise on their own. He stands like a scarecrow. And begins shivering but not from cold. He knows. It's being loaded again. He blacks out on his feet. When he wakes, there are 7 new lumps, each carefully spaced. No pain, only a note under his pillow. Good vessels are silent. Excellent ones don't ask why. Closing scene, April 14th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. In the glow of his living room, Callum removes his shirt. Each lump is now marked, a tiny sigil burned onto the skin above it. He begins to hum. No tune, just a low vibration. From inside his chest, a voice not his own whispers. "You're almost full." Callum is no longer just a passive container, he's become a functioning delivery system. But the cargo is growing stranger. And some objects are starting to speak from within. April 15th, 2024, 6:03 a.m., Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese's body had settled. The lumps weren't sore anymore. No more itching, pulsing, or twitching. They just sat there. Heavy. Comfortable. As if they'd always been part of him. He didn't need to count them anymore. He knew, 21. Every one of them placed with precision. Every one waiting. The internal map. His phone camera, once unreliable, now captured things it shouldn't. Infrared photos showed glowing heat signatures beneath his skin. Lines, symbols, geometric designs stretching from his jaw to his thighs. He traced them on paper. They formed a sigil, circular, spiraled, branching like veins. At the center, a tiny dot marked gate. It was on his chest, just above his heart. The voice from within. It started with a flutter, then a name, whispered not with breath but with motion inside his ribs. Marin, Marin, Marin. He didn't know what it meant, but every time he said it aloud, one of the lumps responded. A gentle push upward, like acknowledgement, or gratitude. The failed delivery. April 15th, 3:14 p.m. Callum returned to the boiler room. Same mail slot, same sign. But when he knelt to deliver, the largest lump on his back wouldn't shift. It pressed against the skin hard, pushed up like it wanted out. But then, resistance. Callum heard something crackle behind the wall. Then a voice, low, mechanical, issued from the mail slot. Rejection. Host not recognized. Item denied. He gasped. The lump pulsed violently. His skin bruised purple within seconds. It wasn't leaving. A second message appears. He returns to his apartment. The kitchen window is open. He never opened it. On the table, a cassette recorder. He presses play. A child's voice. Soft. Female. They didn't want that one. But we do. Keep it close. Feed it a name. He experiments. That night, Callum sits shirtless in front of the mirror. He touches the rejected lump. Whispers names. Marin. It warms. Joe. It shrinks. Callum. It freezes, stone cold. Then he tries. What are you? The lump pulses once, and from the base of his neck he hears. Gate. Bag number 7 appears. He finds it tucked into his pillowcase. Not left, not placed, embedded. He pulls it out. Inside, a piece of folded skin. Not his. It's tattooed with coordinates and a word. Return. He types the coordinates into his phone. They lead to a burnt-down church outside Manchester. No records, no photos, but someone's tagged it on Google Maps as Deposit Point 04. Callum drives there. He arrives at midnight. Fog hangs low. The church is gone, just a stone foundation and remnants of ash. But in the ground, arranged in a circle, are 9 bags, identical to his. Inside each, biological fragments. Toes, hair, an eyelid, teeth but flat, triangular, not human. A plaque embedded in a moss-covered stone. Here, the carriers were emptied, but not silenced. He feels the shift. On the drive home, the rejected object in his back moves again. But this time, it doesn't try to leave. It spreads. Threads of pressure begin moving down his spine, toward his legs, up his neck. When he speaks, his voice echoes in his own head like a room with another person inside. Bag number 8, the letter. It's on his ceiling this time, taped directly above his bed. Inside, a letter. Typed. The delivery was never the point. You were the transit. When you were full, they will walk you back through the gate. No return address. Just a symbol drawn in red ink. The same shape as his body's heat map. Closing scene, April 15th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum lies on his floor. Lights off. Cameras off. Breathing slow. As the clock ticks, each lump pulses once, one after another, in a wave. And somewhere inside him, something knocks gently from within. 3 times. Then whispers. Next time, you'll carry something that remembers. Not all the objects are meant to leave. One of them has rejected delivery and begun spreading. It has a name, and it remembers a body that used to be its own. April 16th, 2024, 4:02 a.m., Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese couldn't sleep, but not because he wasn't tired. He simply couldn't lie flat anymore. The rejected object in his back had grown larger overnight, pushing his spine slightly out of alignment. Sitting hurt. Standing made him dizzy. But lying down? It felt like pressing his weight onto a second body beneath his skin. A body trying to wake up. The heat map spreads. His arms now showed fine, hairline veins glowing faintly under certain lights. Not blood vessels. Not visible to the eye unless you looked slightly off-center. He stared in the mirror, tilted his head. The veins looked like letters. When he traced them, his finger twitched. When he traced them backward, he spoke a name without meaning to. Alrath. His phone is compromised. The Notes app opens itself. Typed messages appear, line by line. We used to have a spine. You're letting it stretch again. Not every object was born as an object. We were voices once. Before mouths. Before storage. He deletes the notes. They reappear the next morning, now written in his handwriting. The return of the tooth. From bag number 2, the old one. The tooth he'd removed weeks ago had vanished. But now it was back. This time inside his mouth. He knew because it didn't match. Too sharp. Slightly translucent. He pulled it. No blood. No pain. On its root, etched in minuscule script. You fed us once. Why stop? The rejected lump begins to speak. Not with sound, but with temperature. He maps it. Each hour, the mass pulses heat in patterns measured in seconds. He decodes it like Morse code. It spells. Stayed. 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 He receives a package marked Return to Sender. Delivered by hand. No courier. On his porch, wrapped in wax paper. Inside, a small ceramic figurine. A mouth. Just lips, no face, no eyes. But when he holds it, the object warms. And one of his lumps responds. He presses the figure to the lump. And it melts into his skin. No scar. Just silence. The body adjusts. April 16th, 9:47 p.m. His fingers dislocate without pain. His jaw unhinges briefly in the mirror, then resets. His vision flickers, not blind, but multiplying. Shadows start to cast more than one shape. The voice in his chest speaks again. This time out loud, through his mouth. I stayed because you looked like me. And I miss walking. Footprints inside. His carpet has bare footprints leading from the bed to the bathroom. He sleeps in socks. The feet are too wide. 3-toed. Each toe has a claw print at the tip. Bag number 9 appears. Inside, a photograph. Black and white. Shows Callum, but from a time he doesn't remember. Wearing different clothes. Smiling. Holding a box. In the photo, the box is open. And inside the box is his own spine. At the bottom, handwritten. We built you from the returns. Closing scene, April 16th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum stands shirtless in his kitchen. The lump in his back is fully formed now, rounded, hard, rhythmic. In the mirror, a face forms in the center of it. Not breaking the skin, just pressing against it. The face smiles, and his mouth says in tandem. Not all passengers leave. Some of us just wanted to come home. One object has refused delivery. It is not an object at all, it's an entity. It recognizes Callum. It may have used him before, and now it's making itself known. April 17th, 2024, 7:28 a.m., Liverpool, UK. Callum didn't remember standing up. He only knew he was in the park. Barefoot. Dirt under his toenails. His shirt inside out. His mouth dry and bloodstained, though he hadn't eaten. In his hand, a scrap of wax paper. On it, written in familiar handwriting. Passenger 004 has surfaced. Do not interrupt transfer. The passenger moves. Throughout the day, Callum feels it sliding. The lump in his back is no longer static. It coils down his spine, twitches under his skin, rides the contours of his ribs. It doesn't cause pain. It causes memory. Flash images. A room with no corners. A jaw unconnected to any face. A name said backwards, Telra. When he tries to write it, his pen snaps in his hand. A message inside his eye. He checks his eye in the mirror. Not red. Not irritated. But when he holds still, he sees it in the scara, faint text embedded in the blood vessels. Ejected once. Allowed now. The voice in his spine. 3:14 a.m. Callum jolts awake. Not from a dream, from a sentence forming along his vertebrae. Spoken not aloud, but through vibration. You were always easy to wear. You fit. He responds in a whisper not his own. What do you want? The answer presses into his ribs. To finish what we started. Last time you broke. Bag number 10 appears. Inside, a page torn from a medical file. Scans of a spine. Not Callum's. But next to the images, typed in red. 0018A, reusable. Host durability confirmed. On the back, in pen. You're not the first version of yourself. He checks his scars. Callum begins mapping old injuries. An ankle fracture he thought was from football. A scar above his collarbone from a childhood fall. He touches them. Each responds with a new sensation. Heat. Movement. Memory. He realizes none of those injuries were accidents. They were exits. The passenger speaks through others. At a bus stop, an old man turns to him and says, "It liked your blood last time." At Tesco, a child walks up, stares at him, and mutters, "You're leaking the voice?" At 2 a.m., his neighbor knocks and hands him a Ziploc bag. Inside, a tooth. Still bloody. No explanation. Just a whisper. You drop this. They don't want it back. The chest opens. That night, he watches himself in the mirror. The skin above his sternum peels without touch. A small slit opens. No bleeding. No tissue. Just a gap, black, endless, not of this world. Inside the reflection, he sees another version of himself. Older. Scarred. Smiling with too many teeth. The reflection says, "Last time you let me out. This time I'm staying." Closing scene, April 17, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum kneels on his bed. The passenger rises from inside, not visible but present. His skin forms ripples. He opens his mouth, and two voices speak at once. Transit no longer required. Residency accepted. From his back, a new lump grows. Not round, not hidden, but shaped like a hand. Callum's body is no longer just a vessel. The passenger has embedded itself fully. But this entity remembers more about Callum's life than Callum does, and it's ready to take over what it once wore. April 18, 2024, 5:44 a.m. Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese no longer referred to it as a lump. It had become an appendage. A hand-shaped protrusion extending from his back under the skin at first, but now textured, contoured, each finger visible beneath a translucent stretch of tissue. And it moved. Twitches. Pulses. Grips. When he passed through doorways, he ducked instinctively, afraid it would catch on something. Sometimes he felt it pulling him backward, not physically, but spatially. Like it remembered a door he'd forgotten. Mirror confession. In the mirror, he saw more than just reflections. The glass had become a mouth of its own, distorting his posture, twisting his smile. When he leaned in, the reflection whispered back. "The passenger isn't inside you. You're inside it." He opened his mouth to argue, but his reflection spoke first. Residency accepted. Thank you for the meet. The internal messages escalate. His veins lit up again under infrared. This time, instead of names, the symbols formed full phrases. Memory retrieval scheduled. Origin point, Callum point 002. Stabilization, 94%. Next host, not applicable, primary selected. He cross-referenced the phrases. None existed in any database, but one line repeated in bold, fluorescent ink across his chest. Primary selected. Bag number 11 appears. This time, placed on his pillow midnight. He didn't hear the door open. Inside, a folded note and a single coin. The note read, "This was the first gift you ever carried. Do you remember burying it in your stomach at age 7? He didn't. But when he held the coin, his mouth filled with metal. He gagged and coughed up a second coin. Not a match. Not a duplicate. A pair. A visitor returns. The child from Tesco reappears. But older now. For years older. Same face. She knocks on Callum's door at 3:14 a.m. He opens it without hesitation. She steps inside, points to the hand on his back. "She used to hold me with that. Before you were emptied out." Callum asks, "Who are you?" The girl shrugs. "You're not ready to remember yet." Then disappears. The passenger uses his mouth. April 18th, 11:52 p.m. Callum opens his phone's voice memo app. He doesn't touch anything. The app begins recording. From his own mouth. Transit complete. Body stabilized. Preparing override. Memory reintroduction begins at 3 hours and 14 minutes. Then silence. He sees a new scar. His lower abdomen, a long, faded surgical scar he never noticed before. He asks his mum over the phone, "Did I ever have surgery as a kid?" A long pause. "You were removed once. But you came back fine." "Removed from what?" She hangs up. The scar opens. That night, the scar splits cleanly. No blood. Just a hole. He peers inside, sees not flesh, not muscle, but teeth. Dozens. Glinting in the dark. Arranged like a smile. From the hole, a breath. And a whisper. "We're home." Closing scene, April 18th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum stands naked in the dark. The hand on his back curls around his shoulder. He smiles. The teeth in his torso shift gently. He speaks with perfect calm. She's walking again. She missed the feeling of veins. The passenger has not only fully integrated, it's begun retrieving Callum's buried memories. But they may not be his. They may belong to someone or something older that used to wear this body long. April 19th, 2024, 4:47 a.m. Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese stopped feeling hunger 2 days ago. He still ate, but only to muffle the sounds coming from his abdomen, the chewing, the swallowing, the occasional soft whisper that echoed up his esophagus. Now, the act of eating felt like feeding something else. He wasn't digesting. He was storing. The veins returned. His arms itched for hours. When he looked, the veins beneath his skin had turned dark gray, then black. Not blood flow. Ink. Forming a branching pattern that pulsed upward toward his throat and downward toward his legs. In the mirror, he whispered, "What is this?" The voice behind his ribs answered in unison. "Memory returning. We were never gone. You were just between pulses." Bag number 12 appears. In his refrigerator. Not wrapped this time. Just loose. Inside, a glass slide like from a microscope, etched with a sliver of human tissue. On the label, Callum .001 PRE exit vein structure. He holds it to the light. The vein on the slide matches the pattern now growing beneath his skin. Only it's dated. May 11th, 1997. He would have been 7. The hidden journal. That night, he checks under the floorboards. Not because he's paranoid, but because his hands move on their own. There, beneath the dusty wood, lies a leather-bound journal. His name on the cover. Inside, drawings of the same black vein pattern. Sketches of the hand on his back. A sentence repeated over 20 times. The body never forgot her. Dream of the previous host. He dreams in first person. But he's not himself. He's a girl, age 11, strapped to a metal table. Chest open. Mouth sealed with thread. Doctors surround her, nodding, taking notes. One whispers, "Perfect vein structure." No resistance. Then her eyes drift toward the ceiling where Callum stands. Watching. And smiling. The mirror speaks again. This time, he doesn't see a reflection. He sees a classroom. Children drawing on paper. Each sketching his body. Outlining the veins. One child, a hair over her eyes, turns toward him and mouths the words. "We're learning to come back." The mirror fogs. And behind the steam, a message written in condensation. "You drew her once. Now she's drawing through you." Bag number 13 arrives. On his desk chair. Sealed with human hair. Inside, a child's handprint imprinted in wax. On the back of the wax slab. Carried through Callum .003. RE attachment, successful. That night, the hand on his back curls fully as if recognizing the handprint. And presses against his spine. Gently. April 19th, 3:14 a.m., the humming begins. From inside his bones, he feels harmony. Humming. Soft. Constant. When he places a stethoscope against his sternum, he hears. She walks the veins back into shape. "You'll never be cold again." He cries. But the tears aren't his. They're thicker. Saltless. Like ink. Callum writes without knowing. On the walls. His chest. The inside of the fridge. Phrases written in sleep. "She was the original blood. We're the return. The hand only grabs what you dropped. We remember veins. You forgot arteries." The word returned is etched on the inside of his bathroom mirror. In his own fingernail. Closing scene, April 19th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum stands in the center of the room. Arms raised. Veins glowing. The hand on his back opens wide, the skin now transparent, revealing another hand inside it, smaller, juvenile. He breathes in, and 2 voices speak through him. This body knew how to carry, but now it's ready to live. The passenger has connected its oldest roots to Callum's nervous system. But she wasn't just passing through. She was using Callum to re-enter the world, and she's starting to remember who she was before she became cargo. April 20th, 2024, 5:22 a.m., Liverpool, UK. Callum Reese woke to the smell of iron. Not just the sharp tang of blood, but something older, thicker. Like rusted steel and wet soil. He opened his mouth. His tongue was black. Not diseased. Not burned. Ink-stained. He ran to the mirror. The veins beneath his tongue pulsed visibly, moving, snaking, spelling. Letters forming in silence. VTHERA. Bag number 14 appears. Stuffed under his mattress, though he hadn't lifted it in weeks. Inside, a page torn from a birth certificate. Name, Vathraloon. Date, April 20th, 1902. Status, stillborn. Parent, not applicable. Doctor's note, no cry. Eyes open. Veins black. Name chosen anyway. On the back, in different handwriting. But she learned how to return. He sees her in the reflection. Every mirror now shows 2 images. Callum's face. And hers faint, hovering inches behind his own. A girl. Pale. Lips stitched. But smiling. He speaks to her. She blinks. He asks, Are you Vathara? The mirror fogs, then unfogs, revealing one sentence etched in steam. I never left. You did. The black veins expand, now visible around his jaw, wrapping down his shoulders, converging at the base of his spine. He sketches the pattern, overlays it on the heat map from earlier. Perfect match. Each node corresponds to an object he's carried, each one now marked claimed. He touches the final one, the one nearest his heart. It burns. The doctors call him back. A voicemail from a private number. Mr. Reese, we're following up on your scans. You weren't supposed to survive that last trauma. We have a file on you from 1997. You had no pulse for 3 minutes. Then you started speaking backwards. Click. He plays the message again. The second time, his own voice replaces the caller's. You let her in. We just recorded it. The journal updates itself. The leather-bound book, the one he found beneath the floorboards, now flips pages on its own. New entries appear daily. Not in his handwriting. April 20th reads, Vein 17 opened. She dreams through the shoulder now. The original blood has stabilized. Subject 18 will become host 1. Bag number 15, the red one. Unlike the others, this one is sealed in crimson wax. Still warm. Inside, a photo of a girl on a slab. Vathara. Same stitched lips. Same black veins. But her chest is opened, not surgically. Torn. Inside, a cavity filled with metal coins. One coin bears an engraving. Carried back by Callum .002. She speaks fully now. Through his mouth. While he sleeps. He plays audio recordings. It's not your fault. You were built with memory gaps. I was meant to exit in 1902. You opened the other side. I watched you rot once. You smiled the second time. Then, one last phrase. The gate is almost open. Thank you for your spine. The hand splits. The appendage on his back blossoms. The fingers pull apart, revealing a second spine growing outward, half-exposed, jointed, pale red. It flexes, and then stabilizes. His own spine cracks in response. He falls, seizes, then breathes again, and speaks in 2 voices at once. The original blood walks again. Closing scene, April 20th, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Callum stands in a circle of salt in his living room. His veins fully black, his spine split with Vathara's. He lifts his hands, and from behind his eyes she stares out and whispers, One more vessel. Then we pour. Callum's body is no longer just a carrier, it's a completed architecture. Vathara has returned fully, remembering every vessel before him. Now she's ready to overflow into the next. April 21st, 2024, 3:14 a.m. Liverpool, UK. The spine is no longer inside him. It arches from Callum Reese's back like a stalk. Rooted. Breathing. Flexing. It ends in something that was once a hand. Now it's become a spout. Thin strands of black thread pour from it in constant streams, winding around his arms, across the floor, up the legs of the chairs, seating. Each thread pulses. Each one remembers. The mouth's open. One in his shoulder. Another in his side. A third, smaller, where his collarbone dips. They aren't mouths for speaking. They're receptors. And they hum. Harmonize. The sound builds like a reversed scream, not expelled, but swallowed inward. Callum opens his eyes. They aren't his anymore. They are hers. Bag number 16, the final delivery. He finds it in the hallway. But it isn't sealed. It isn't packaged. It's a person. A boy, no older than 12, standing barefoot in a circle of black powder. He doesn't speak, but he holds out a note. To Vathara. One last carrier. One last gate. Callum reaches out. The boy does not flinch. Their fingers touch. The hand on Callum's back opens completely. And something enters. Not the boy, but what used to be in him. The return ritual. The journal's flip pages. One final diagram appears. His body fully illustrated. All 36 nodes active. Each vein labeled with a name, a decade, a failed birth. Callum stands in front of it, watching as the ink soaks into the page like blood returning to a vein. They were never supposed to survive. I just remembered how to make them fit. The apartment transforms. Walls bulge. Corners melt. The floor warps upward, forming a basin, a bowl. Black fluid fills it. Not liquid. Not solid. Memory. The voice inside his chest says, You held us well. Now we will overflow. The pouring begins. From his mouth. From the spine. From the mouths along his ribs. Names. Words. Languages not spoken on earth. Each syllable a thread that wraps around reality, tying others in. Lights across the city flicker. Screens go dark. Everyone who's ever touched Callum in their life begins to itch. Something under their skin moves and wants out. She steps through. The final moment is quiet. Callum kneels. His body splitting open, not gory, but symbolic. As if undoing a box. Vather arises through him like steam rising off heat. Her form takes shape, young, eyes open, stitched mouth undone. She speaks aloud. You were the last spine. I was the first blood. Now let me be all of you. Citywide transmission. At 3:14 a.m. across every screen in Liverpool, TVs, phones, tablets, a short burst of static. Then a symbol. Her sigil. A spiral of veins. A whisper in every speaker. You carried me once. You'll carry me again. Final entry in the journal. April 21st, 2024. Carrier complete. Pouring successful. Threaded hosts located in 117 bodies. Next gate, open. April 21st, 2024, 3:14 a.m. A woman steps out of Callum's empty shell. She stretches, smiles, and walks into the hallway barefoot, leaving prints in black thread. Behind her, the apartment folds inward, becoming smaller, tighter, until it's just a lump. One small bump beneath the skin of someone new.